Good morning from Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors, your source for fishing, hunting, and information for folks who enjoy the great outdoors. Now sit back, relax. It's Panhandle Outdoors.
Good morning, folks. Welcome to Panhandle Outdoors. I'm Winston Chester. I'm glad you're here this morning. Got a great show lined up, and we'll get started, of course, with our weather brought to us by Haney Technical Center at 77 on Baldwin Road. The number is 757-767-5500. Okay, a high today now is only going to be 69 and low tonight 43. So we got a nice cooling trend that stepped in, and we really, it's really been nice. The water temperature has stayed at 73 degrees, and our river readings, Apalachicola is still at a 0.5 for our hunters this weekend, but at Choctawhatchee, Caryville now it's going up for the weekend. It's going to be rising. It's right now, it's right at 2 foot. But it's going to get about 2.8 by Friday if any of y'all are going to be over there camping on the river over there. Now, the tide chart we're in November, today's November the 7th, and looking at we talked about this yesterday, the high tide was at 106 this morning, and the low tide will be right in the middle of the day at 11:47, and it's going to start coming in. It's not a really strong tide when it's coming in. It's a good outgoing tide, but not a strong tide coming in. And we're going to hit some neat tides the next couple of days for the weekend, okay? Now, every Wednesday morning, I like to call our good friend down at the Cape Sandblast. This segment brought to us by Blue Water Outriggers. They've got everything you need at Blue Water Outriggers. And on the phone with me now is Captain Blair Morgan. Good morning, Blair.
Good morning, Weston. How you doing?
We're doing well over here, buddy. How you doing?
I'm doing good.
Well, give us some good.
That little cold front come through last night. It feels good over here this morning.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it does. Tell us about what's going on over there.
Well, there's still a few people fishing out here in St. Joe Bay, Winston, and it's just that time of year when people have other interests. Not a whole lot of fishing going on, but the ones that's fishing are catching a lot of trout over here. And it doesn't really matter what you fish with. They're just hitting on about everything. And the kings, they're still doing real good off the buoy line and off some of the reef balls that Mexico Beach, put out.
Yeah.
But as far as the Apalachicola Bay, it seems like the fish are making a transition. They're going up to the mouth of the creeks now. Whiskey George boat ramp, 65 up there in Franklin County is full of boat trailers and trucks every day. So that's always a sign that the fish are biting.
Yes.
And there was a guy that came in the bait store there in East Point yesterday, and he ordered 12 gold rattle traps, half-ounce rattle traps. And he said the redfish were just killing those things up there in the mouth of the bay. So if you got any gold rattle traps, you want to go fishing, that's your trying.
Now, that's a sign of a good fisherman, Blair, when you walk in a tackle store and you just buy 12 of them.
Yeah. Yeah. Of course, I was all ears, but yeah, he said the redfish are just killing those gold rattle traps right now. But other than that, I've talked to quite a few people that's doing some crappie fishing, in the creeks up there, and some days they do real good, and some days they don't do too good.
Yeah.
Of course, squirrel season open Saturday. That'll be a big happening.
I know. Saturday morning is going to sound like you said, it's going to sound like a war over there.
Yeah, you know what? It's really a big thing here in Florida, and I just never realized, but everybody the adults, of course, they take the kids and they go up and camp on the sandbars on the Apalachicola River and spend the whole weekend up there just having a good time, squirrel hunting. And it's a big deal. I mean, it's hard to even find a place in a campground up there to go this time of year. Everything's just full.
It's just a way of life here in the Panhandle. Just opening squirrel season, it's phenomenal how that happens. And most people in other parts of the country just couldn't understand it, but you witness it yourself and see that.
No, they don't understand it, and it's just a real happening, every year, and it's going to be a beautiful weekend for it now.
Yes, it is.
We had just a little bit of rain. It's going to be cool the weekend, and so it'll be perfect for it. I don't know how many squirrels there are. I got one report. Somebody's been hunting on private property, said they hadn't seen many squirrels. Last year there wasn't a whole lot of them around, but maybe they'll be there this year.
Well, I'm sure they're going to be looking for them, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Well, that sounds good.
All right, Weston. Have a good one.
All right, buddy. Thanks, Blair. All right, folks. That takes care of our report down there in our eastern viewing area. So we're going to take our first break and be right back. All right, welcome back. Familiar face, Captain Rick Corley.
Good morning.
Hey, listen, we're not talking about boats to start with now. Captain Rick has been out fishing.
Yeah.
I like that. We talked the other night before last, and you did good. Tell the folks about your fishing trip.
Well, the gentleman I've been helping him get acquainted with his boat. He's never been out here in salt water, and he was a little bit intimidated. And the other day, that wind was up a little bit, but he said, I want to go fishing. And I said, all right. But Randall Creel is a friend of mine. He's got a nice 25-foot Grady White with a pair of 150 Yamaha, perfect for that. So we went out to Pass and started trolling there and trolled on down towards the west and didn't do very well. So I turned around and came back towards the sea buoy. Made probably half a dozen turns around the sea buoy out there just off of it. And we got about 6 strikes. We landed 3 fish out of the 6. Nick he was trying to bass fish instead of troll, but it worked out all right. He had a good time. That was his first kingfish, and now he's hooked. I don't know who he caught, the fish or the fish caught him, but now he wants to go again.
Well,
and we caught all of them about the same size. They were all about 5-pound king, but
that's good.
It was good eating fish.
Yeah. So everybody
had a ball.
Everybody had something to eat to take home with them. 1
fish apiece, and we were out there about 3.5 hours, and just had a good time. And it was a little rock and roll. I got tickled at him. First thing, he went out there, and the boat was moving around a little bit, and he says, "Are we okay?" I said, "Yeah, we're fine." He says, "Do I need to put a life jacket on?" I said, "Do you know how to swim?" He said, "Well, yeah." I said, "No." I said, "The boat's fine, and you're fine. Just sit still." I said, "You got to remember, you're on here with me, and I'm my favorite person."
Well,
but he had fun. He did.
We talk about that. We take it for granted because we on the water all the time. Yep. And somebody from out of an area comes in, and we got to remember they haven't been on the water, and you got to be real patient with them and sort of reassure them.
Well, and that's the reason I wanted to get out there with him this weekend, because it was blowing a little bit. That front hadn't got here, and let him see that, hey, the boat's going to rock, but it's not going to turn over. It's not going to sink. You're okay. Everything's fine. And let him learn a little bit there. I said, the whole time we were out there, it kept building. I said, and I was showing him how to judge his wave height and all. And he said, well, how do I know when to come out here? I said, well, take your boat. If you take 10% of your waterline length, if you got a 20-foot boat on the waterline, you're going to be comfortable up to a 2-foot sea. Mm-hmm. At 20%, you're going to be in 4-foot seas. You're going to start saying, this is not a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. And then by the time you get to 30% of that, which would be 6-foot seas, you don't need to be there. You need to be on the inside.
That's a good rule of thumb. Now.
Yes,
10, 20, 30.
Yep. 10% go. At 20%, consider heading for the house. Yeah. And at 30%, be very careful, because then you get into the height of the wave. If you mishandle the boat, you could turn it over.
And boats, and we're talking about that, they're built for different areas. Some boats are built for the Atlantic, some built for the Gulf and all, some built for flat fish and all. But talking about the Grady White, I haven't been on a Grady White that I have not liked.
They have what they call a variable dead rise hull. And what that means is it's not in the same shape anywhere all the way back. Mm-hmm. So that when you come off a wave, where some of these boats are straight V'd the same way all the way back, once you get past 4 foot, well, that's like your hand slapping like that when you fall off a sea. But a Grady White is laid this way so that you get a rolling into the sea, and it rides very easy. Some boats, they seem to ride like a stagecoach, but that boat rides real well in rough water.
Well, I'm glad to see you going fishing and catching some fish.
Yeah, it was kind of fun. I ain't done that in a while.
You just got to take time to do it. We're talking about going fishing. All you just got to stop, take time.
On the 13th, I'm going to go with Captain Roy Ray and Nick. He's coming down and wants to go speckled trout fishing.
Well, get us some pictures.
I'll try.
All right.
Confused me. I didn't get the disc copied this time. Yeah. Maybe I'll bring some.
Yeah, he's got some pictures, but on disc, but we'll get them next time. Yeah. Let's go and take this break, and we'll be right back. Okay, welcome back. Let's get started with some good fishing pictures here. Check this out. We're a good friend up in Lynn Haven, retired state trooper Wilbur Miller. John Miller sent this picture. Well, look at this drum that Wilbur caught. Now, Rick, that's a good-looking fish right there. John said it took him about 30 minutes to land it. But they had a good fishing trip out of White City. Check out these. Look, we got some redfish. Check this out. I'm just going to scroll right down through here. Man, look at that one right there. Some nice drums. Now, folks, the drum, look at there. They had an ice chest full. And they're up hanging up there in Lynn Haven at his house, hanging them on on the nail up there, probably skinning them out. But good job there. That was a Wilbur Miller up there in Lynn Haven. John, thanks for sending those pictures. Folks, send your pictures in. All you got to do is send them an email, and you see what we do. We just put them. We don't even have to print them up now. Technology is amazing, isn't it? We just put them in here and just show them straight from email into the TV screen. So that's great. Thank you for sending those.
Yeah, I got to get in the 21st century to get with that, and it gets more and more complicated.
We're just learning as we go along.
I need a 12-year-old to run the computer.
That's true. It's amazing what they can do.
Yeah.
We were talking about boats and all, and I know all experience you've had with boats and all. When you go out looking for a boat, a lot of people, maybe not buy these really big, Carolina boats, big
right.
30, 40 footers, but on these smaller boats, what are some of the things they can look for?
Well, you got to remember, we're in economic times that are hard. Boat builders build good boats. They try to. Mm-hmm. But if you get a builder that's having financial strife, he may cut some corners. Mm-hmm. You got to watch him. You can run into problems. And remember this, if it's a manufacturing defect, you want to get after it right soon, because if it gets to a certain point, in most insurance policies, manufacturing defect is, it's left out. That's a non-covered item.
Wow.
So that's one reason I recommend people have a boat surveyed even on a new boat, is to make sure that you don't have something wrong that if it gets outside the warranty, you got a problem. And I got one in Niceville that I'm going to today that may be the case.
I was going to start pouring miles about my day before I came on the show. I was going to tell Rick all the things I had to do today, and then he started telling me what he had to do. So I just got quiet. What's your tip? Tell us your
Well, this morning, of course, I'm here, and then from here I go back to the office and start writing a report. My apprentice will be there at 7:30, and he's learning, so I'll teach him. I got to stop and leave him with my wife to kind of tutor his writing. And I got to go to Dr. Kowaleski's and get my usual checkup, make sure I don't have melanoma coming back. And then from there, I'll come back, finish up that report. We'll leave. We got to go to Niceville to look at this boat I was telling you about that's got a problem. And once we look at that and see, we're taking the rubber rail off this time to see the hull to deck joint, see how I don't think it took. I don't think they put it on right, and it didn't anchor, and he's got a problem. And then from there, I got to come back and do an appraisal at Baytown. And then from there, I come back and I got to go to a meeting tonight. And then I've got to come back in and finish up the report on the one that I did at Destin. I get to about midnight and start again in the morning about the same time.
So I'm not going to. I had to go to about 7 o'clock tonight, but I'm not going to say anything about that. So.
Well, Nick said, "Man, you're in good shape for a 68-year-old man." I said, "Thank you." I said, "As long as you keep working and you have a goal and you have a reason to get up and you enjoy what you're doing."
That's true.
Yeah.
You're talking about doing, looking at the rubber rail and all. What can a person do? I know overall we want to get a surveyor like you to do it, but just if not. When they're serious about buying it, but when they're just sort of looking at boats, can they?
There's some things you can do. One of the neat things you can do if you want to find out how well a boat is put together and if it's got enough glass in it, if you'll stand about midships and reach out with your left hand if you're right-handed, and put the palm flat on the side of the hull, and then reach out with this hand and smack the hull. If you can feel that in the other hand, you don't have a very strong hull. You shouldn't be able to hear that. When you hit, example, on a Boston Whaler or Grady White, you do that, you won't even feel that over there.
Okay.
But I'm not going to name the boats you can, but there's some you can do that and your hand will bounce off the hull. It's too thin, doesn't have enough glass in it.
That's a great rule of thumb right there.
Yep.
And that's the integrity. That's really the integrity of the boat.
Yep.
It's going to be like that.
Well, you got to think about a fiberglass boat is not like wood, aluminum, or steel. They depend on the ribs and the keel to be the framework. It's your skeleton. That's where your strength is. With a fiberglass boat, it's a monocoque style construction, and the lid is popped on. It's like putting a Tupperware bowl in your hand. If you flex it like this, it'll eventually split down here because it can flex. You lock that lid on and do that, and it won't move. It may flex a little bit, but that's acceptable. But it won't collapse. So your hull to deck joint on a fiberglass boat is your most important structure. And if it's not done right, you have a weak boat. and you can have a problem. You wind up with the hull cracking and so on. And this is part of the problem we're running into with this boat I'm going to look at. So
that's interesting.
Yep.
All right, well, listen, we're going to take our final break, and we'll be right back with Captain Rick Corley. All right, welcome back. Let's take a look at our fishing game forecast for today. If you get a chance to, if you're off work and all, you can go this morning 6:02 to 8:02, and this evening, even though it may be dark, from 6:25 to 8:25, if you like fishing off a bridge or any, like that, that's a good chance to do that. It's 6:25 to 8:25. I know some of my students like to go fish off a bridge and all. And don't forget, this weekend, Saturday, we'll mention this again tomorrow now, is opening squirrel season. Blair and I just talked about it. A lot of folks in our region just go up and down the river and get campsites. It's going to be hard to find campsites. A beautiful weekend, and it'll be some good squirrel hunting this weekend. So don't forget about opening squirrel season, okay? Also, tomorrow, we're going to start our November. Remember I told you last month, November is going to be our giveaway month. We're going to start giving away some stuff, and we're going to have our first drawing tomorrow. And I've got several people entered after I mentioned that. So be sure and go and just email me, add your name to our pickle jar, and we'll see what we're going to give away tomorrow, okay? Now, you were mentioning, what else were you mentioning about boats and all?
Well, right now it's still a good time to buy a boat because the prices are still down, and you can get some good deals out there. I've seen some, even on big boats. It's amazing what some of them are going for, depending on how bad they're getting hurt, financially. It depends on what you can do, but I've seen some really, really nice boats and bought it for a really, really nice price.
I have too. Every now and then I just check on it just out of when I have a minute, just out of curiosity. And you see, some really good brand boats along a place like Craigslist, and you take a look at it. But again, I guess the first thing I always worry about is a motor. I know on some of these top dollar boats how the hull is going to be. The hull is going to be in pretty good shape, but a lot of times it's the motor that scares me.
Yeah, and well, it's just like me. When I survey one, we'll do a sea trial, but I don't actually get into the engine. What I do is look for the outside for belt dust, if it's an inboard where the belt's wearing. I look for cracked motor mounts, water leak, oil leak, fuel leak, that type thing. And I listen to them, I look at the exhaust and things of that nature. If that looks all right, then I'm going to tell them, I don't see anything, but I never discourage somebody having a mechanic give an opinion, because there are things like the risers can be clogged and it might not show up and so on. So to go further, yes, it's a good idea.
I was over at BJ Marine's the other afternoon. I was talking to Roger, and he was telling about this guy that we all knew, that we both knew, and it brought it. He had not had his boat serviced. He just gets out and runs it. And then he had a problem. What the problem was, he ended up having a cracked head because he had not had it serviced.
Right.
And that is so important.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Rogers probably knows more about outboards than just about anybody that people building them. I'm not so sure he don't know as much as them.
You can just tell him something, he'll say, well, that's what it is right there.
Yep.
It's amazing just sitting there talking to him.
I bought that Tohatsu with him, and I have him service it. I get in, it goes wooden, and I go. And he's good people. He's very good mechanic.
It's like you just got to get things serviced on a regular basis and all.
Now, diesel engines are very reliable, but they don't like dirt. You got to keep clean water, clean fuel, and clean oil, and clean air going into them. And if you'll pull back on the throttle a little bit, now, the C-rated I used to have, we had twin Cummins in there, and they're rated to run 2,500 continuous, 28 wide up. But personally, I like to run them about 23. I like to get off of that top RPMs, because even though it's only a few RPMs, the manifold pressure goes way up inside the cylinder, which is wear and tear. And remember, the speed across the ground does not translate to the same speed in the piston travel inside that engine. And your 25% of your horsepower comes in the last 300 RPMs. So if you'll back off about 500, and if you can actually back off 1,000 off of some of these engines, you can drop down 1,000 RPMs, you're a lot better off.
And a lot of times, and our bass fishing buddies are really bad about it, just on the big lakes and all. But you can't do that on the river anymore because the river's so low. You just can't go wide open.
Not long, anyway.
No, you can't. There's too many logs and all out there.
Yeah.
But that is a good point now. So the one on the hull and one on the motors. Any other tips? What about the rubber? Checking the rubber, all the rubber on it.
It's not a bad idea to go around and look because, you know, banging into things from time to time, you'll tear chunks out and so on. Sometimes you may need to replace it.
Well, that's not a big expense right there. I mean, something
not.
like that.
No.
Your big expense is going to come when you got a hull cracked. And, and really.
Remember this, when you're around the dock or something, go slow. Just all you want to go is just about the same speed that you walk when you're called a meander in the southern term.
That's a good point,
I had a fellow one time in class ask me, he says, "How fast do you come to the dock?" I said, "How fast do you want to hit it?"
Yeah.
So if you can't stop, you got to buy something. And the guy selling it to you didn't want to sell it anyway because you hit his boat or something, and he gonna sell it to you at high dollar. So don't go fast, go slow.
We're talking about this over and over again on the boat ramp. You see so many things happening around the dock, the same thing. And it all comes from just inexperience. I don't think they're trying to intentionally do stuff. It's just they don't know
they panic and want to shove it. And the thing is, if you're in doubt of what to do, you're better off just to put it in neutral.
Yeah.
Do nothing.
And
let it drift on its own. Because if you start trying and you miscalculate, now you got this thing going faster. Now you got to go faster to try to stop it, and you get a yo-yo, and you get what they call behind the boat. In other words, it's going faster than you thinking. And next thing you know, you've hit something and you got to buy it.
Well, and the biggest mistake I see, they're going to throw it in reverse,
and
then they're going to forget which way to turn it. And, and then the back end, that stern is going to hit one of the poles out there.
Another thing, a lot of people think I can drive a car so I can drive a boat. No, you can't. You need to actually get out there with somebody that knows what they're doing and let them show you a little bit. But if you just if you're going faster than you really want, go in and out of gear. In other words, what we call bumping it. You put it in gear and it goes, and then take it out of gear. Put it in gear. You've got to learn to anticipate what your boat's going to do. And when I teach them in gear only, no throttle. Dad always taught me, he said, if you're using more throttle than you need, you're over controlling.
All right, good point again. We got to get out of here. Hey, thank y'all for watching the show. Thank you, Rick, for coming on. Y'all do something good for somebody today, and God bless.
Thanks for joining us for Panhandle Outdoors with Winston Chester. Panhandle Outdoors features hunting, fishing, and other activities and information to help you enjoy the great outdoors. Join us next time for Panhandle Outdoors.